Well, good morning. That was very interesting. Very interesting information. Today, I will be talking a little bit about nutrition and how that affects us systemically. I'd like to start off with my slides. And there we go. I'm a registered dietitian, nutritionalist. So basically, I deal with food. I work at UCI Health for Susan Samueli Integrative Health Institute. And my background is I have a BS in biology from UCI. I have a master's in business from UCI, and I have a master's in science from USC. Also, I serve on a couple boards, one being the UC Irvine Mirage School of Business, the other being USC Leonard Davis School of Gerontology, the Chapman University Korean College Advisory Committee, and I was very lucky to be involved in the Developmental Executive Strategic Committee for Beckman Institute. There we go. Today, I thought it would be very relevant, especially since we are currently in the holiday season. Let's talk a little bit about inflammation and how that affects us. Well, we kind of are what we eat. And so if we go back thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, our food supply has actually changed. Hippocrates, tens of thousands of years ago, said if we could give every individual the right amount of nourishment and exercise, well, not too little and not too much, we would have found the safest way to health. And that's what I'll be hitting on today is health, systemic health. And people always ask me, Sherry, I am so hungry, always hungry. Well, I want you to look at your body a little differently. I think our body clearly knows what it wants. And it knows it needs to have a certain amount of protein and fats and minerals and vitamins. And when we don't consume those foods, then whatever we're consuming, our body keeps saying, well, just give me more of that, and maybe I can figure out where to get those vitamins and minerals. The average American consumes 16.2 teaspoons added sugar daily. That's 250 calories. Well, this adds up to the average American, and actually during COVID it was higher, but the average American consumes about 152 pounds of sugar a year. During COVID, they think that went up to 160 pounds of sugar per year. The 2015-20 guidelines recommended 10% or less total daily calories from added sugar. So they're trying to get us down to 12 teaspoons or 48 grams of added sugars per day. The American Heart Association advises limiting sugar to 36 grams per day. Now, 4 grams is 1 teaspoon. So I kind of want everybody to think about every time you say 4 grams, that's a teaspoon. So American Heart Association wants us to have less than 10 teaspoons a day. And in 2020-25 Dietary Guidelines, so these are our new guidelines, they recommend lowering to less than 6% of our daily calories from added sugar. So now we're talking about 7 teaspoons or 30 grams per day. However, there was no change to our USDA guidelines. This is what I'm concerned about. The projected diabetes rate in the United States keeps going up. And on the right-hand side, this is what's also very concerning to me. The number of Americans with chronic diseases. So how can we help ourselves? That's what I'm going to talk about a little today. In 1995, there was only 118 million, which is an awful lot, of chronic diseases in America. They estimate that we're going to go from 157 million up to 171 million by 2030. Now, I know we don't always eat Twinkies and Cokes, but I want to make a point here. Food contains a lot of sugar, and we don't think about it because a lot of times when we're walking by something that's like a baked good or a pastry, we're not asking how many teaspoons of sugar is in that. But in processed food, it's really easy to tell because it's on labels. So for one Twinkie, it would be 20 grams. Remember, I said 4 grams equals 1 teaspoon. So you just take out your little bowl of sugar and you put 5 teaspoons in your mouth. But who's going to eat one? And I don't really care if it's a Twinkie or it's some kind of cookies or it's some kind of muffins. You're going to end up eating whatever's in the bag. So all of a sudden, that's 40. So that's 10 teaspoons of sugar that you just put in your system. It's hidden in yogurt. Oh, pretty labeling. Look at the label. It's red, blue, yellow, lots of labels. So the average yogurt, this Yoplait, has around 27 grams. So we are consuming a lot of sugar. When I was at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, we were trying to make a point because we have a lot of 5 through 8-year-olds that are pre-diabetic or diabetic. And what we did is we would take a container of their favorite soft drink. Now, these are all empty containers. And we'd ask them to go pick out which soft drink they would usually consume. Oh, they all had their favorites, let me tell you. And they would bring those over and they would show us. And remember, they're 8 years old. So we would help them in this, and we would take a teaspoon, and then we would give them like a cup or a plastic container, and we would both count together how many teaspoons of sugar was in that soda. Well, if it was a small can of Coke, that was 10. But now a lot of kids, they come home with the larger containers and they'll consume out of that. So when we took the 10 teaspoons of sugar right next to the can of whatever the soft drink was, we said, why are you paying this much money for all this sugar and basically water? How about just drinking water or milk? Well, what we're trying to do is click their minds into thinking a different way because they're 5 or 8 years old and they think that's a totally healthy drink. Well, we as adults, look at us. A grande vanilla latte, that sounds pretty good. It's just a vanilla latte. Come on. And you want to start your morning off the right way. Has 35 grams of sugar. So that's 6 teaspoons. And that's 11 pounds over a period of a year. And it's 58.5 cups of sugar that we've consumed. Industry. Why does big industry have chemists who are paid quite well? Why? Because these chemists can actually determine the perfect amount of sugar, fat, and salt. And with that combination, they have a successful product. Americans spend a lot of money on processed foods. Now, I'm going to go back to 2016, and we were up to 500 million. And that's gone up clearly from there. So why do we pay the chemists so much money? Because there's money involved, number one. And number two, I think everybody can tell me that definitely tastes like an Oreo cookie, and that does not. Why? Because they have done a very good job of adding salt, sugar, and fat to a product. Well, let's talk about inflammation, because we kind of mentioned that when we first got started. And well, why does it really matter? Well, inflammation is basically the body's natural response to an injury or infection. And when it's a natural response, there's a pro-inflammatory and an anti-inflammatory phase. And really both are very necessary for healing. Well, guess what? We've talked a little bit about sugar, and sugar is one of the most pro-inflammatory foods we could consume. So how can we determine what's going on in our bodies? We should always understand some serum markers. In other words, when you get your labs back, I want you to be responsible for reading them along with your physician. I want you to understand, what is an A1C? A lot of my patients, I will ask them, well, what is your A1C? And they will say, I'm not even sure what that is. Well, that is sugar binding to your red blood cells. So that's why over a period of 3 months, it can go up or down. But one of my patients who had a A1C of 7, now if it's 6.5 or above, you're considered diabetic. He actually thought he was doing well because it was less than 10. So we should always understand our markers. We do not want to have high insulin levels. That's an indication of insulin resistance. And our fasting blood glucose, it should be under 99. And when you go in to get your tests, your blood tests, I want you to be very well hydrated. I want you to have lots of water the day before, and even lots of water when you wake up that morning. Your CRP is your C-reactive protein, and it's usually elevated in either cancer or other diseases. So does our diet influence inflammation? Yes, it does. There's certain foods that contribute to free radical production. What is free radical production? Well, free radicals are reactive molecules that damage cells. So these are things that hurt us, and they're linked to chronic, degenerative, inflammatory diseases, cancers, and aging. What's our worst offender? Oops, foods high in sugar. And I want to make a comment about how young kids get used to eating sugar at very young ages. I call it the sugar shake. So if you look at a 2-year-old, because now they've figured it out, they probably had a little cake or cupcake or whatever, and you watch them as that cake comes out or their birthday cupcake comes out, you literally will see them lift their hands in the air and their little bodies start shaking. Well, what is that? Body's saying, ooh, we like that. So sugar is very attractive. And also other offenders can be meats that are cooked at very high temperatures. Some of our worst offenders are foods that are high in saturated fats, like butters and cheeses and fatty meats. And also, I want us to pay attention. We consume a lot of foods that have partially or fully hydrogenated oils. What are those foods? Well, those are your pastries, your fried foods, your snack foods. So we consume foods high in omega-6s, like our corn oils, our cottonseed oil, or our soybean oil. We have them in our dressings, our sauces, and restaurant foods. Restaurant use them a lot because it's a cheaper oil. And foods treated with pesticides. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and the exposure. Some foods contribute to advanced glycation end products in the body, and we don't want to accumulate a lot. And those basically are foods that are fried foods, fatty foods. Inflammation, well, is it bad? I kind of said no. Acute inflammation is not. That's our body. That's our body saying, uh-oh, I got a cut. So I need to get red and heat up and swell. And I'm going to tell you that you are hurt. So that's your body's normal. Acute means it happened right away. That's what the first reaction. And it's really important for healing. Now, chronic inflammation is what we're going to be talking about the rest of this conversation. It can go unnoticed for years and years and years. And guess what? It plays a role in 7 of the 10 causes. So we've got to figure out inflammation. And that's why we're going to be talking about anti-inflammatory foods. So what are some of these 7 of the 10 top causes for mortality? Heart disease, stroke, cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and kidney disease. Well, there's 3 ways to lower sugar with your diet. Eat real food. Okay, let's talk about that today. And I want always for there to be a mix of macronutrients. I want the carbohydrates. I want the proteins. I want the fats. And I want color. lots and lots of color. These are our phytonutrients. These are our phytochemicals. Our soil has a symbiotic relationship with the plants. And so when a plant is in trouble, it actually releases some sugars, and the bacteria come up to the roots of the plant, and they actually help the plant. And many times they're helping by those colors of the plant. We have a great relationship, or a symbiotic relationship, with our fruits and our vegetables. So we need a rainbow. And why do we need a rainbow? Because in this rainbow, we're getting all the different nutrients that our body needs. And remember when I started out saying our body is looking for stuff. We understand that we are hungry because our body needs things. Now, the sad thing is, even though on the right-hand side I have red, orange, yellow, I have green vegetables and fruit, purple vegetables and fruit, white vegetables and fruit, as Americans, we only consume about 20 to 30% of what we're supposed to have each day. So I want you to eat a variety of colorful fruits and vegetables. And this will help keep excessive inflammation at bay. In other words, it'll push it away. One of the easiest ways to do this is to eat seasonal fruits and vegetables. And I'm always going to push this. Why? Because 2, 3, 4 generations ago, we ate a lot of variety. Why? Because that was what was in the market, because it was in season. That was what was in our backyard, because it was in season. And I always like to say, during these different seasons, consume foods of the season. In the springtime, I love you to go to Tanaka Farms in Irvine. And basically, you're able to take a tour and taste strawberries straight off the vine. Once you have a tomato or strawberry straight off the vine, there's no going back. And also herbs and spices. So ounce for ounce, they're some of the greatest antioxidants. They're anti-inflammatory. So think about including, and especially now that it's winter months and we're doing a little bit more cooking, I want you to think about oregano, ginger, cloves, turmeric, and these lower inflammation. So this is nature's way of helping us. We'll talk a little bit about something called the dirty dozen. These are foods that contain the most pesticides. So if we're at a farmer's market or we're at a store and we're seasonally buying things, so it's cheaper and it's fresher, let's try to have organic strawberries and spinach and kale, nectarines, apples, grapes, peaches, cherries, pears, tomatoes, celery, and potatoes. And why do we need these things called prebiotics? To begin with, what are prebiotics? Well, the major source of food for colon bacteria is prebiotics. Prebiotics are non-digestible carbohydrates contained in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. So I'm actually very big on eating carbohydrates. People keep telling me, no, Sherry, I don't eat carbs, I don't eat carbs, I don't eat carbs. And I am the opposite, saying, wait a minute, I want you to eat more fruits, more vegetables, more grain. I want half that plate to be vegetables. Well, those are carbohydrates. And I think we've kind of gotten out of the habit of using the words fruits and vegetables as carbohydrates, instead of just thinking carbohydrates are our cookies and our sweets and our goodies. So neither the acidity in our stomach, which is an acid base of about 2, nor the enzymes in our intestines can break down this fiber that our fruits and vegetables supply to us. And the fiber passes through the digestive tract undigested. For the bacteria, remember how we have a symbiotic relationship with plants, and plants have a symbiotic relationship with the soil. We also have a great relationship, a symbiotic relationship with bacteria in our gut. And we have something called a gut-brain axis. So happy gut, happy brain. So what are some of the sources of fiber? Well, they are the bran, they are the fresh fruits and the vegetables. And so people ask, well, how do you find these grams of fiber? Well, say split peas. That's 16.3 grams per cup. I know you're not probably going to have a cup of peas, but maybe you have a quarter cup. Well, that's 4 grams right there. Lentils, 15.6 grams per cup. Now, Hippocrates, now this is tens of thousands of years ago, he would basically prescribe consuming lentils for ulcers and also for hemorrhoids. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Food was medicine. Black beans, lima beans. So beans are always going to be your big bang for the buck. And if you don't digest them very well, take them on very slowly but surely, but they're a great source of fiber. Around this time of year, a lot of my patients say, I am bored of salads. I don't want that. So I recommend steaming an artichoke. An artichoke shared between 2 people would be 5 grams of fiber. Your peas, your broccoli has 5.1 grams per cup, and your Brussels sprouts have 4.1 grams per cup. So what do I present? I present a lentil, broccoli, Brussels sprouts trifecta. If you make this for the family and you put it in the middle and everybody starts grabbing big tablespoons from this plate, this is an easy way to get beans and green vegetables in us, and it tastes delightful. Fruit. Did you know that avocado has the highest percentage of fiber than any other fruit? Well, it has 10.1 grams. So if you have a whole grain piece of toast and you put on a third of an avocado, boom, not only do you have a whole grain bread, which might have 2 to 3 grams, you have another 3 grams of avocado of fiber on top. Pears are in season right now. And for me, it's really easy to eat a medium pear. And that's around 10 grams of fiber. Raspberries, blackberries, berries have very high levels of fiber in them. Our prunes have 7.7 grams of fiber. Coconut, apples are so easy. They're easy to take anywhere you go because it's really hard to bruise an apple. And they have 3.3 grams of fiber in them. And also your strawberries have 3.3. Well, pomegranates are beautiful and they are your fall fruit. So they start coming into season around September, October, November, but they store really well. So I have seen a lot of them in the stores recently. And I think not that you're going to eat a whole pomegranate once, but during the holiday season, I like to put out on my counter broken open pomegranates and seeds. And what I do is I de-seed them sometimes, and then I'll put a big tablespoon, and they can put that pomegranate either on top of anything, or they just pop it into their palm and pop it straight into their mouth. Fiber-filled grains and nuts. Well, wholesome whole grains. So one of the easiest ways to increase fiber intake is to focus on whole grains. A grain in nature is essentially the entire seed. So that's the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. And get on a bran wagon. Come on, we can increase our fiber intake by increasing our bran intake. Nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds, ounce for ounce, are phenomenal because they provide not only fiber, but also the bonus of a healthy fat, protein, and colors, phytochemicals. This is what makes me sad, and this is what I'm going to always talk about. Currently, over 90% of all Americans' intake of fiber is well below the daily recommended level. In 2005, guys, it's no longer 2005, but way back in 2005, fiber was identified as a public health concern. This drew attention to the lack of consumption of dietary fiber. This remains a concern as of today. The Institute of Medicine, the IOM, recommends 25 to 38 grams of fiber per day. Well, the average American, and this could be you, consumes about 12 grams of fiber per day. Now, I do not want you to go out and just grab a whole bunch of supplemental fiber and decide you're going to consume it today. It's really easy with all our devices to just track your fiber intake and say you are between 12 and 15 grams per day. I want you to add around 3 grams of whole food fiber, so maybe that's an apple, every third day until you start increasing your grams of fiber. But don't do it in one day. Do it over a period of 2 weeks to get from that 12 to the 25. So what the Institute of Medicine is saying is great on paper, but it's really confusing to Americans. And that's why I want you to start thinking about, oh, an apple's this, beans are that. Am I getting my 20 to 30 to 40 grams of fiber in me a day? This is why I keep talking about the colon. The colon is basically where our microbiome lives. This is the blanket of bacteria that keeps us healthy and keeps our mind actually very happy. What does a healthy microbiome look like? Well, the colon is responsible for absorbing water, salt, and other nutrients from the body. In addition, guess what? The bacteria help in the production of vitamin K, B. What do you mean? What did I just say? The bacteria help us. They produce short chain fatty acids. The bacteria is living with us and helping us. Well, one preventative approach to increasing systemic health. So when I say systemic, I'm talking from head to toe. We need a healthy microbiome. So what do we need? Back to the basics. We need 25 to 35 grams of fiber, including probiotics, such as fermented vegetables. And yes, we can alter our microbiome. The most important mechanism of prebiotics, that's our fruits, our vegetables, our whole grains, our nuts, is their fermentation in the colon that results in changes to the microbiome. So basically, we have a happy layer of bacteria in our colon. Unlike the small intestines, that's where all our food's absorbed, the colon is made of smooth tissue. So it is where makes a nice surface for our bacteria to grow on. So this smooth surface enables billions of bacteria to coat the colon and live in a healthy balance with our body. And yes, we need this healthy balance. We also need these things called essential fatty acids. Well, what's essential, Sherry? Essential means we cannot make it in our body. We must consume it. So, what do omega-3s do? Well, omega-3s are these long chain fatty acids. It's your EPA, your DHA. Wonderful for the brain, wonderful for your eyes. And just a fun fact, did you know that your brain is 70% fat? So yes, we do need healthy fats. We do need our omega-3s coming from our servings, and I would say 2 to 3 servings of smash fish. What's smash? Salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring. Sure, I am not eating mackerel, anchovies, sardines, or herring. That's okay. That's okay. Let's consume our salmon. Does that mean you can't have tuna? No. These tend to be our lower mercury fish. So we can consume all sorts of fish and shellfish, but I would like you to consume your salmon. Let's be aware of what we're eating. Plant-based proteins like beans, lentil, tofu have an advantage over animal proteins in reducing inflammation. Now, did I say you must be vegan? No, I did not say that. But I said is you really must pay attention and consume a fair amount of fruits, vegetables, beans, and using beans and lentils and tofu, have a meatless Monday in order to help reduce that inflammation and reduce risk of chronic diseases. Whole grains reduce inflammation markers within the body. Well, they're also very satiating because when you have a food that's got fiber and healthy fats and clean proteins, now your body has what it needs and it knows what to do with all those ingredients. And it's very satiating. It means you're not hungry anymore. The flavonoids, the phytochemicals, phytonutrients, that's those colors in your berries and your dark green vegetables, and even the whites that are in the onion. Well, that reverses aging. Well, that's a no-brainer. Let's go eat more fruits, vegetables, and leafy greens. And that way our memory will be better and it's easier to learn. Let's apply that to our kids because they need to learn and they need all these healthy things in them. So the National Academy of Sciences recommends 1.1 gram of omega-3 for women and 1.1 gram of omega-3 for men each day. It's easy to get omega-3s in us. Now, when I talk about some of your plant-based ALAs being converted to omega-3, the conversion rate isn't the best. It's actually very low. So preferably, I'd like you to have wild-caught salmon, but I also do want you to have anchovies, chia seeds, walnuts, flaxseed, hemp seed. And on the right-hand side, let's talk a little bit about portions. I want half your plate to be vegetables, leafy greens. Remember, I want the rainbow in there. I want root vegetables. I want fresh herbs on those vegetables. I want organic poultry. Get to know your butcher. The things go on sale all the time. I refuse to pay more for anything if I can get to know my butcher and they'll tell me when it's on sale. I also know my produce person and they tell me what's in season, what's tasting the best. I want you to consume the whole grains. Include sweet potato, some brown rice. Now, I didn't say a rice bowl. I said 1/4 of your plate to be rice or your whole grain pastas or squashes. Read what you eat. If I put a pear in front of you, everybody would know what a pear is. I have turned over different containers and different packages in the store, and I read the first thing I kind of know, and it's normally bleached white flour. Okay, I kind of know what that is. And then I have no idea what the rest is. Well, if you don't know and I don't know, I don't think we're helping our bodies because I don't think our bodies know what it is. So it doesn't know how to use it. Real food, well, it's really short and it's simple and it's easy to understand the ingredients. So action items. What do I want you to walk away with today? Number 1, food is medicine. How can we help this gut-brain axis? How can we cheer up our moods? Well, one of the ways is to be healthy and have a happy gut. So I want 2 to 3 servings of legumes per week. So think about some lentil beans. Think about some black beans. Think about some hummus like chickpeas. And 4 servings of fruit and 5 of vegetables. Well, this is really easy. How do I do it? Half my plate at each meal are vegetables. And then in the morning, I might have oatmeal. I might not. I might have scrambled egg that's got all sorts of onion in it on a bed of spinach. Wow, I just made half my plate vegetables. And then what I do on top of that is I have on the side of my plate a half a cup of berries. So I got one of my servings of berries and I got one of my servings of vegetables, and it's only 8:30 in the morning. I want you to add color to each meal. Not cream on beige on cream on beige on cream on beige. What do I mean by cream on beige on cream? Well, if you tend to take things out of packages, now these packages are gorgeous, chips, whatever it is, they've got red, they've got yellow, your eyes are very stimulated. But once you open that package and you pour it into a bowl, it tends to be rather a bland color. I want you to add color. I want every single time you wake up, that goal of the day is to eat a rainbow of fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and healthy, clean proteins. And of course, put herbs and spices in those vegetables. Eat 1 serving of nuts each day. Well, try walnuts. Why do I say try different nuts? Because maybe your walnuts are very high in vitamin E. And then your pistachios are very high in copper. And then your almonds are very high in maybe zinc. Well, I want a combination of that. And so that way your body gets all those different minerals, and that's what gives us energy. We kind of have to go around a circle to get our energy, and we need all these vitamins and minerals. And at least half of your grains are to be whole grains. I'm going to push it more. I want more to be whole grains. Brown rice, try some of these ancient grains. And all you have to do is go literally into Google, into YouTube, and you ask for some recipes using quinoa, using buckwheat, because maybe what's happened is you've never tried amaranth. Well, why not try? You had quinoa once 2 years ago and you really didn't like the taste because it was dry. Okay, well then let's start looking up some recipes where it's possibly in a salad where you notice it, but it enhances the salad. And remember, I want 2 servings of fish, very bioavailable, easy to digest, and I'm getting those healthy fats in you. So, thought of the day. I love thoughts. Your body is a temple. Well, only if you treat it as one. So let's reset, reboot. It's holidays. Maybe you have one special day during this month, one special day during next month. That's fine. But I want whole foods in you daily, and maybe some little special treats to go once a month in you. I want dense food in your body and your children's bodies. And I want to thank you so much. I work in the Costa Mesa office and Newport Beach. So I'm going to send everything back.
Sure. Before you take off, if that's okay,
Yes.
I have to tell you that it was an amazing presentation. We had so many really positive comments, as
Oh,
well as
good.
as well as a few questions. Do you have a few minutes to?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just don't want to hold anybody up.
Oh no, this is just terrific. I want to thank you too for giving this talk. A couple questions that did come through. One is a great question. What do you think when you're talking about sugar, use of sugar per day? What do you think of sugar included in milk and fruits? Do you add that to the total as well?
Fruit, no. You know why? Because it has fiber.
Okay.
And I'm not going to be negative on milk because after the age of 1, a lot of younger kids consume milk, and it's a great source of protein for them also. I'm not big on added sugars to milk. For example, sometimes we have the chocolate milk or we put things into the milk. So that would be the added sugar. The body is very interesting. And once again, I'm going to get around to sugar and fiber. There's something called human milk oligosaccharides. What's that? That is human breast milk. It actually, when a baby eats during a period of a day, will consume 25 grams of fiber from the mother's breast. Well, it's hard to make breast milk, but our body knows it's so important to do it. And things like Go-Gurt, it's a small little container, about 3 ounces. It has a total of about 22 grams of fiber or sugar added to it. Read the labels. Fruits, vegetables, you don't have to read any labels. But yes, you do if you're going to buy a Go-Gurt or you're going to have chocolate milk or flavored milks.
Great, Sherry. And here's a really interesting question from Elaine, asking, "Hey, if you're not able to buy fruits and vegetables that are organic, what about rinsing in baking soda water? Does this help with pesticide removal? What are your thoughts on that? Have you heard that before?"
Yeah, I'm big on a couple things. When it comes to fruits and vegetables, the other thing I'm kind of big on is you don't always have to get fresh. You can get frozen, and that way it's right in your freezer. As far as rinsing things off, I would always say yes, rinse something off. I don't tend to put any kind of cleaners or anything on anything because sometimes we forget to rinse after we've decided to clean. So you can rinse your fruits and vegetables, which I always do. And I think that's a great way to just get one layer off. And that's also a great idea to use your local produce because a lot of them do use less pesticide, and it's just as inexpensive in the store because I do grocery tours with sometimes elderly or senior population because they say, oh, I can't get anything. It's cost too much. It's this. And so we'll go through a store with seasonal fruits and vegetables that have very low pesticides in them, and we can consume those at great prices. But that's a good question. Yes, rinse everything.
Well, I have to tell you again, the questions are coming fast and furious here. So, is it okay to drink whole milk if it's grass fed? Does that make a difference?
So grass fed, grass finished is wonderful. And I always will push that on meats. As I said, I know my butcher, I know my produce guide very well. And they'll say, Cher, come here, come here, come here. This is on sale today. Grass fed and grass finished means the cow starts out eating grass because they've got different compartments and they're meant to eat grass. So when they do eat grass, they have higher omega-3. So yes, if you have the option for especially young adults to have grass-fed, grass-finished, I would go for grass-fed, grass-finished milk.